So I'm a little bit nervous about this actually, because I've never had a friend on without a lot of prep. Like this is the authentic end of year bonus episode. And I can't think of someone I would rather talk about this with than you, Lisa Valle. Welcome to the Flip Your Script podcast.
I'm so happy to be here. So excited.
So this is a strange part probably of your last year as well, that, you probably sat here, January 1st, a year ago, going into 23 and sort of thought your life would go a certain way. And then Pepperdine happened and other things happened. And we end up both getting into the Pepperdine Masters of Science and Management and Leadership program. And we have this immersion weekend and everyone has to go to it. And we were never in any groups together. And yet we have this, all of us have this intensely emotional connection sort of time. And at the end we're all about to go back to our normal lives. And you and I had a conversation. What do you remember about the conversation, Lisa?
Was it the one about us recognizing we were probably the oldest in the class?
That's the one. Yep, there it is.
And we realized that we had this perspective about life that all of them had yet to discover. And gosh, guys, the road isn't that hard. If you just do one day at a time, take one day at a time. You don't need to plan the whole journey in this time of your life. I remember that.
So we, realize, and for me, I don't know if this is true for you, Lisa, but one of the most surprising things about that weekend for me was that I was totally out of my comfort zone, because everyone, except for a couple people, much younger, way closer to my kids' age than my age, very professionally inexperienced, and approaching leadership and life from a different lens, because it was more a future someday I'm going to. And you and I were like, oh, I can take this right back into work and I can apply it immediately. And I'm not used to walking into scenarios being the only older and experienced, which again, not a word, but right? Was it weird for you?
It was, but I felt like that going into the whole program. And the only thing that gave me some calm going into immersion weekend was I connected with you before immersion weekend. I said, I have to seek her out. I have to find her, because I already knew that I was not going to get a ton from the folks that were in our cohort, but I knew that I could get some growth from somebody like you who was more my peer, or more somebody that had achieved some things that I'd like to explore more about. That was what I was looking forward to going into immersion weekend. I was like, I hope she feels the same way. I hope we have a joint connection and it's not just me.
It's a bit like student dating, right? You're like, I need someone to go through this with. And to other folks in our cohort who may be listening, we certainly have made other connections with people and are certainly going through this path with other people. But I think when you get to any kind of group, you go, who am I most like? And what? Yeah. And we sort of did that immediately. But then we go through this weekend and we had this kind of briefish conversation at the end. And it was sort of I need to know more about you. You need to know more about me. I think we should be friends, right? Let's get together. And we were both like, okay.
Literally, we were able to plan a time to get away, both of us out of our own time zones, comfort zones, cities, get on an airplane and connect. And if you think about it, there's probably not a ton of folks in that room who could have just done that without a ton of orchestration.
And I went into that immersion weekend never expecting to leave with a plan to go meet a virtual stranger. And so we had made a plan to go to Portland. We met someone who we were going there because someone else that we met sort of lived in that area. So that was the reason we went there. And you and I then started connecting about this trip. And there's always this back of mind thing, what if it's not going to be as great as I think it is? Or it was I was a little bit nervous going in. Were you?
Was too. I was like, what if she's not who I thought she was? Or what if this trip is a nightmare? Like, how will I get out of it?
Totally. Yes. And of course, we can't say this to each other. And the reason that I wanted you on to talk specifically about this is because uh, both of us said yes to something initially that put us way out of our comfort zone. That the master's program, all these voices, the head trash. Am I too old? Am I too this? Am I too that? What if this? What if that? And then we get there. And so we're already sort of disrupted. And then because of that disruption, we were able to be more disruptive and go. I've never in my life, maybe you have, gone up to someone you didn't know that well and plan a trip with them in 2 minutes.
Yeah, never, never, ever.
And I don't know that I would do it again, but I feel like we had this like thing. And not I wouldn't do it again because it wasn't awesome, because it was, but because I think that like the universe sort of, God sort of showed up in a really crazy way. And so we get off the airplane, we go to Portland, we have time by ourselves before the woman who we were going to see. And we had one of the most remarkable dinners I think I've ever had with anyone.
Kind of life changing for me, actually. There are things about that dinner and what we were able to talk about in complete transparency. That was the other thing that kind of blew my mind. Is we were able to get to a level that it takes sometimes months, years for people to get to. We got there in minutes and we're able to have such a great transparent conversation just about who we were and what our passions were and what we were aiming for and what we'd like our future life to be. It was an amazing dinner conversation. And we had a couple of them, but that was the kickoff.
It really was unlike anything I had ever experienced. And we had this fantastic trip and have, connected many times since, and we're going to get together again unless work throws a wrench in our plans. But even if the February thing we're planning doesn't work, we'll do it another time. And I think the key for me anyway was the intentionality about being vulnerable and being open to new experiences, because we all get going in our careers, in our lives, with our kids, with our whatever, and it becomes so orchestrated and so calendared. And I didn't have on my bingo card for 2023 meet someone new and form a deep friendship and go to a strange place. And yet I wouldn't be who I am now if I hadn't said yes to that.
Absolutely. When I think about too, when I joined the program or making the decision to, folks were like, you don't need that for your job. Why do you need that? You do not need a master's right now. You're where you need to be with everything that you have. You need nothing there. I go, I need my network refreshed. I need my credibility boosted, but more than that, I need my network refreshed. And I got that at the start. Like, you are evidence of that goal being accomplished.
Thank you. And I feel the same. And yet I never expected the personal part.
Yeah.
I was looking for the network refresh, and the West Coast contacts for me was very valuable, and new people and new ideas. And I learned a lot from folks who are really different than me. But I didn't expect to make a deep personal connection. And had I not put myself out there professionally, I would have not made that personal connection, which is another sort of takeaway for me.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. Same.
And for anyone who isn't watching YouTube, because part of this will go on YouTube, but if you're just listening and you think, oh, two women who are really similar met and they looked at each other and went, oh, we should be friends. We're not that similar. If you can't see us visually, we're not the same. I'm a white woman. Lisa's a Black woman. Lisa grew up in a very different place than I did. Lisa has a corporate experience. I don't have a corporate experience. However, Lisa has two boys. I have two boys who we love dearly. And so we have things in common, but not as many as someone listening might think about. It wasn't a natural, like, look, I met my twin, because there's no mother and father. Well, maybe someone could have us as twins. I don't know. Genetics are an amazing thing. But we have these different backgrounds that I think makes it more rich. Right? Do you feel the
I
same?
totally agree. Totally agree. it's more than just comfort zone. It's more because we live in a place where we both have friends that look like each of us. It's really more about the risk that comes with allowing people in, the peeling of the onion, just a layer or two to find commonality with people you wouldn't normally do that with, and finding comfort in that.
Yeah, to get to that comfort level, you have to get out of the comfort zone.
Right.
And we did that quickly. And now we're going to go to class together. Actually, we're planning this one of our trips so we can sit in the same room and do class, because our classes are virtual and we have another year left. And if our professors listen to this, which they probably won't because they're probably too busy, then they would know that we sit through classes and text each other almost the entire class. Because you don't want to go through any experience alone. Nobody wants that. So my professional and personal experience has been better because of you, and I'm deeply grateful.
Oh, thank you. You've been my blessing for 2023 for real. And I know that we'll be able to say that year in and year out. You're not leaving my life. I'm not going to let you. If it looks stalkerish at some point, so be it. But you're not leaving my life. So thank you.
And I want to share one more thing that Lisa did that I think is a tactical thing that other people could do is you did something, Lisa, that I know you have done for other folks, but I got on the airplane after being with you and I went through my bag and she had put a card in my bag. And so I get on that airplane and there's this personal, beautiful note and card from Lisa, this person I had just spent a couple of days with, that was so meaningful, and that I'm taking with, because it's so easy to do. Pack some cards in your bag. And if you want to leave behind, it's such a surprise, magical sort of moment for someone that was also really touching.
I believe in thank you cards in the moment. I carry them if I'm at work and I'm doing a conference at a hotel and somebody at the hotel did something above and beyond for me that made my event successful. I slip them a real time handwritten note because I think it's important for people forget what what they leave, the traces of themselves that they leave with people, or they take it for granted, or they think it didn't matter, and that's a reminder to them that it matters, and it was seen and understood and appreciated. And so that's what that was for me. So thank you.
And folks who are listening, I think it's also important to realize that the relationships that got you to where you are may not be the ones that gets you to where you're going. I have had to refresh some relationships in my life. Lisa has as well. We talked about that a lot. And the friendships, just because you were friends with them in elementary school, they may no longer serve you. And there is nothing wrong with that. And then the right response is to be grateful for what you had and to find some folks who serve you well in your newest and current season. And that is what I hope that when you think about this conversation that Lisa and I had, that you can take from this, is that we're two people who got vulnerable with each other in an uncomfortable, disruptive situation, and this beautiful relationship was formed. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.